I've been wondering lately why we're all acting different, very strange. And when I say strange, again, I'm not saying strange is bad or good. It's just different. So now we have the tension. We need connection for our health. We need the emotional steadiness in our life. We need the nervous system regulation. We need it for resilience. And yet many of us have gotten genuinely awkward about needing each other and even being able to communicate with each other. Let's just name this weirdness, not to judge it, just to understand it. Because when you name a pattern, you can stop being completely run by it. So the first one that I've noticed, these are things that I have noticed, is that the phone has become the third person at the table. Sometimes even the second person, you know. But it's like when we pick up this phone, okay, and then put it away. I'm just going to put it away now, okay? We all know this phone. We all know this apparatus. When you're sitting with someone and they're talking and you are listening, mostly, and then the phone lights up, your eyes flick down very briefly. Like right now, if I'm talking to you and I just quickly, take a few, 2 seconds to look down at there, that's distracting. It's a fast one. It's like 1 or 2 seconds. But the person across from you feels it. They feel that you are not paying attention to them, that you are not present. Attention, has a kind of feeling about it. You can feel when someone is with you, and you can feel when they are waiting for you to stop talking so they can respond. You feel it with their body language, when their body is in the room, but their mind is somewhere else, or, with notifications. And then that little flicker of attention sends a message, even if you do not mean to send this message. Something else matters more than you right now. That's what you're giving the message to. Is that what you're wanting to tell the person that's sitting across from you? People do this a lot. I mean, I've seen this in personal relationships. I've seen it in business relationships. I've seen it, with people, with their customers, with their clients, with their patients. I've seen it where they are distracted. And this is not to shame anybody. We all are guilty of this. I am deeply aware that I also own a phone and it acts like, kind of a main theme in my life during the day. But also when I'm present with someone, I do my best to be fully present with them. And we have to be honest about this because the phone has trained us to fear the stillness, the calmness, a pause. My gosh, we get so uncomfortable when somebody pauses. Now a pause comes and we immediately grab the phone and we check messages. A silence, like the silence used to be normal, used to be really good. And there's even a word, what did I read about this phone snubbing? That was the word, that was the terminology. And it affects more than manners. It affects the safety because when someone is talking to you, like talking, and your attention keeps leaving them, their nervous system is noticing. And it may not say, yes, I'm experiencing, a break in the social connection. It's not like that. It just feels a little less safe, a little less valued, and a lot more alone. And that matters because the nervous system is always asking, are you with me? Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. When someone gives you their full attention, your body often just softens. You relax. Your breathing changes. Your face changes. You become more available. You speak more honestly. You've got their full attention. That is one of the best ways and the most underrated forms of affection. And right now, we're trying to feel loved while competing with devices engineered by some of the smartest people in the world, but it's just stealing our attention. I mean, you can think about this with your kids, for example. Think about being present. Why do they have to scream sometimes to get your attention? Because you're distracted with something. Now, granted, we've got a lot of things going on, but the connection is more of a challenge. It feels like it's harder to do, but it's not because you're failing at it. It's because the room has a third person, and that's your phone all the time. And that third person is very needy and very demanding. Now, the second thing I've noticed is that we're normalizing disappearing. This one's a delicate one, okay? Because there are valid reasons why people go quiet. Grief, burnout, depression, maybe hurt feelings, maybe feeling overwhelmed, caregiving, work, health issues, life in general. And sometimes disappearing is not rudeness. It's about survival. But sometimes disappearing becomes a habit, Avoidance becomes a habit. We do not respond because we are tired, or then too much time passes by and then it feels awkward. How many of you have had this happen in your life? I know in the last couple of years, I've had this more and more been occurring in my relationships. And then the awkwardness becomes a wall somehow. And then we decide that that relationship is probably fine the way it is, even if nobody's actually tending to it. A relationship takes work from both sides. And that's where a lot of adult friendships go. Not with a fight, with a slow fade of unanswered texts and good intentions. And I know if you're always the one that's reaching out to people, if you're always the one that is, making the connection, it can really get exhausting. Sometimes you do need to back off, but then you start to see how everybody is kind of in their own world. And there's a particular kind of sadness with this in relationships that they didn't end. It just stopped being practiced. It stopped the attention was just not being given the proper nurturing for it. And that's the part we forget. Relationships are not just feelings, they're practices. They need contact, they need repetition, just like a plant needs to be watered, given food. You would never buy a plant and never water it. I mean, oh yeah, I guess we just grew apart. The plant died. No, you would never do that. But with people, we do this. We used to be so close. Yes, and then nobody watered the relationship. Again, not with shame. I'm not saying anything. I mean, I'm just want to share these observations with you because these are conversations I've been having a lot lately with people. And, a lot of us are living inside a strange contradiction. We deeply want to be remembered, but we're scared to initiate. We want low maintenance relationships, but we still want this high trust intimacy. We want people to understand us, but we do not always let them get close enough to gather the evidence and to even get to know us. And the nervous system is also part of this. So you've been stressed out for a long time. Your capacity of social contact has definitely shrunk. Even good things can feel like demands. A text from somebody can feel overwhelming. A dinner invitation feels like, oh my God, another to-do thing on my list. So it doesn't mean that you don't care. It may mean that your system is overloaded, and avoiding connection, though, may protect you from the discomfort in the short term, but it is often increasing your loneliness factor in the long term. So the goal is not to force yourself to do something, force yourself into constant social activity. The goal is to build a life where connection is gentle, regular, real enough that it does not always feel like you're climbing a mountain to connect. The next thing that I've noticed is that we've made canceling feel like self-care. Now, when did canceling become like our national love language? And you know the feeling, like you have plans at 7:00 and at 4:30 you start negotiating with yourself like, maybe they're tired too. Maybe I should just check in. What if I say I have a headache? We start coming up with all these excuses and then the other person cancels first. And you feel a rush of relief. How many times has that happened? I know it's happened to me several times. And that relief is real, but that relief is not always the same as real restoration. Sometimes canceling is exactly what you need to do, okay? Sometimes your body truly needs quiet downtime, zero plans. I support that 100%. But sometimes the urge to cancel is not really wise. It's not really wisdom. It's maybe anxiety of what you're going to wear, avoidance for some reason. And that's where we need to have more honesty, because taking the language of self-care and using it to justify almost anything that feels immediately soothing is not really self-care. Sometimes actual care is going to bed. Sometimes actual care is going to the doctor or having the conversation. And sometimes actual care is putting those shoes on, keeping that plan because you made a commitment and you know that your future self will come home lighter. Now, I know sometimes you have plans with somebody that drains you, just drains your energy, talks constantly the entire time. That's a different story. But, the plan may feel like effort at 5:00, but at 8:30, after you've already gone, you're laughing at something stupid, eating fries off of someone else's plate, remembering something that brought joy to you. And just think to yourself, gosh, I almost missed that. So the nervous system becomes the medicine for you at that time. Not because the fries are magical or, whatever, but sometimes they are, of course, but sometimes the connection with that person is so much of what you need. Your system moved from isolation into contact at that point, from a guarded state to an engaged state, from tight to open. So give it a try. That shift is not small, but that's something that I want to say because I've noticed that canceling is something that has been normalized these days. The next thing that I've noticed is that we're using one-way connection as a substitute for mutual relationship. This one's a sneaky one because it can feel like connection. You follow someone online, you listen to their podcasts, you watch their stories, and you know everything about them. And it can feel like closeness. But most of the time, it's not mutual. They don't know you. That doesn't make it bad at all. I mean, you can't know everybody. Creators, podcasts, all these things, you love learning from people online. Some of the best ideas that come from things that you learn from other people that they've shared. But when there's a one-way connection, okay, so someone's always contacting you, for example, for things. That's not a mutual relationship. That's not a mutual connection. And we start to, on an emotional side, get really lonely or it feels very empty. It's like, think about it this way. It's like cooking, like watching cooking videos when you're hungry. Okay, interesting, yes. Comforting sometimes. Actual dinner? No, you don't have you don't have dinner there. And that's where it gets tricky. I mean, content can give you the feeling of being with people without requiring the risk of getting to know people or people knowing you. No one can reject you, no one can misunderstand you. You get the warmth of proximity without the vulnerability of a relationship. And that's where your nervous system that is tired or protective, that can feel very appealing. But it does not give the body the same signal. Your body knows the difference between watching someone laugh and laughing with someone who can see your face. It's just like going to a comedy show. It's so much better. I mean, I love to watch comedy online, but I'd so much rather be there in person, being able to connect and see people's faces and connect with other people. That's the missing nutrient is that recognition, not just more information, but recognition. The other thing, the last thing that I have noticed is that we've become suspicious of any human interaction. And this one is everywhere. People feel nervous calling someone on the phone. They would rather text them. They're nervous talking to a neighbor. They avoid eye contact. They're nervous joining a class. They're nervous. I mean, what if it's weird? What if I'm weird? It might be for about 10 seconds, and then it'll probably be fine. That awkwardness we imagine is almost always much more dramatic than the awkwardness is that we actually experience. It's our minds that keep on going on saying, oh my gosh, they'll think this is random. They'll wonder why I'm reaching out. They'll wonder, who am I? They'll judge me on this. They won't respond. They think I'll be too much or whatever it may be. I mean, meanwhile, the other person's probably sitting there thinking, oh, thank goodness, someone made it, the first step. Someone took the first step. That's the secret about connecting with people. A lot of people are now distant because they don't care. It's not really that they don't care. They care, but they're distant because they're insecure, actually. And they're waiting for a clear signal to make that connection. We're all standing on the opposite sides of the same tiny wall of awkwardness, hoping that the other person will be brave first. And at some point, someone has to climb over. Someone has to take the first step. It might as well be you. Not because you're responsible for everyone, but because being first to reach out is one of the simplest ways to reclaim your, sense of connection. It doesn't take much. It's just these are things that I've just been noticing. These are these small things that I've noticed that people have been acting a different way in the last several years.